Hello, hello, hello. It's Corinne. I am here with Soulshift Channeling for another channeled collective message and then individual readings for you to choose from. So I'll go ahead and open up. We'll get right to it. There will be a collective message that comes through first. It's all rooted in image and metaphor to help it land and tune into your life as specifically as possible without while still being relevant and able to carry the energy that it needs to. What else? Why am I just having a little bit of a brain moment? So we'll start with a collective message and then we'll be able to choose. I feel like there are going to be 4 or 5 today. You can choose with numbers or emojis. And if you're catching this as a short version, you can find the long version on YouTube. So I'm so glad to be with you here today. Thank you for showing up. I'm just very honored to serve those who come to this space in seeking a better path for themselves and for others. And it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with each of us individually. And I'm thrilled to be here with you in this moment. So we'll go ahead and start with this blessing. Feel free to ride along or skip ahead if you need to. And there'll be a collective message at the end. So I'll see you guys there. Okay. My center with your center. Our center with all centers. Our center as the one center. I enter the realm of masters, teachers, and loved ones of Soulshift Collective and match our hearts and minds with theirs. Let us find through joy and wisdom the ability to open the universe and ourselves to greater possibility and deeper love. Eternal Source, fill our heads with clarity and sacred power and show us Soulshift Collective's place of balance. Hear us now as we become one with the whole. When we are complete, release us in love and admiration, keeping our energy raised. The records are open. Okay, my dears, there are going to be 5 readings today. And then the next thing I feel is a lot of energy coming through this, it feels like kind of behind your third eye, like in your brain space, and then coming through the sinuses to the nose. It's almost like reverse smelling. If things came out of your nose instead of coming into your nose. And this is reminiscent of when things are coming out of our nose, we're usually sick. Like our nose is running, which can be tied to anger or frustration. But more than that, when things come out of our nose, it is illness trying to leave the body. It's impurities or viruses, bacteria, like stuff that is going to threaten our functioning as a healthy organism. And when we're sick or ill, it's just a season. It's just a season of things getting right. It's an exercising of our body, and really it's a display of our body's wealth and health. When our body is fighting, sometimes we can see it as, oh, there's something bad going on. Oh, I'm sick. It kind of, I feel like, has this negative connotation, but what I'm seeing here is that it is a sign of a healthy body. It's a sign of a well-fed organism and immune system, because an immune system that's fighting, and here's the caveat, an immune system that's fighting something that it needs to fight is one that's doing its job well. It's a sign of health. It's a signal of health. When our bodies are fighting things that are not actually a threat, that's the challenge and that's the danger. I feel like this might have been a little bit confusing lately to folks of the thing I'm fighting, is it worth to fight? Like, is it something that I need to fight, or is it something that my body can and will process on its own? A lot of time our bodies have intelligences beyond what we cognitively have going on in here. Like, obviously our bodies are doing things that are beyond our understanding and comprehension all of the time. And it's wild, in fact, that our bodies take care of so much functioning for us without us really understanding explicitly how it works. Even if you're a medical professional, even if you're well trained in biology, there are things happening in your body that are impossible to understand. And so I almost hear the body speaking here saying, and so why don't you trust me for this? Why don't you trust me for that? Why don't you trust? There's this lack of trust with our physical system, our physical hardware. And it comes from our operating system. It comes from our brain. Our brain, again, always is trying to help us, is trying to support us, is trying to keep us safe from experiences that we've had a hard time dealing with in the past. And so it can sometimes get in the way and undermine the intelligence and integrity of our physical body. The task this week is to really come into form, right? Like to find your center, find your groundedness, come into your body, and to give gratitude. To give gratitude and to just say blessings and wisdoms and prayer over our physical form, because it has been running long enough without our buy-in or without our support, or without, I mean, it can always have more buy-in and more support. And so it is asking for the chance to go run and to sprint and to have an experience where it does feel supported all of the time. So that is my challenge to you this week. All right, my dears, let's go ahead and, oh, wait, no, there was more imagery. The next thing I see, it's like whack-a-mole, and it feels like 5 of them. I have a feeling that this has to do with the readings, and it's almost like, when you're playing whack-a-mole, oftentimes it's a lot of near misses or like near hits, or like you're a little bit behind pace, you're a little bit behind schedule, your timing is a little bit off, and then all of a sudden you'll get one really good, and it'll almost be by happenstance, right? It'll just be, it might not be entirely intentional, but it's that connection of like finally getting a whack-a-mole that gives you this surge of energy that heightens your emotions, heightens your clarity, and heightens your precision, so you can continue to be very precise moving forward. All right. Okay, y'all, I had to just pause for a moment. On the theme of, so we're gonna have a little bit more integration talk this week, on the theme of like the nose and boogers and like illness coming out. I at least am experiencing fear mindset come in and bring information that is important to acknowledge and to recognize, but more importantly to let pass through, as opposed to hang on to and dwell on and build a life out of. So our operating system all the time has information running through it, from our subconscious, from our external reality, from our internal narrative and our internal reality. And it's a lot. There's a lot going on up there. It's a lot going on up there. And I'm here to remind you that on the theme and the string of hypnosis, what we program into our physical form is what our physical form will continue to try and show us. So what we're saying in our minds, what we're believing in our minds is programmed into our bodies. And I think it was Harvard that actually came out with a research study recently about how the power of our words over our physical form and physical bodies, and how shifting how we speak to ourselves can literally heal our bodies, can reduce inflammation, can allow ourselves to repair more efficiently. I mean, it's astounding. But this whole concept of hypnosis being that the reality that we perpetuate in our minds is constantly like hypnotizing us into a certain reality. And a marriage of that with the uncoupling of incorrect information, of inadvisable narratives, with our subconscious. If anyone's done EFT or tapping, it involves hitting specific points of the body and speaking fears, limitations, and basically letting the body have a new association of safety with those fears and limitations. So that way we aren't running up against our fears in a panic state. So we can witness our fears and our limiting beliefs with a grounded nervous system that allows our body then to process the illness inside of it, the ill beliefs, the untruths, so it can finally let that stuff go. And when we let that stuff go, it's like our body clearing out illness, our body clearing out the sick. So that way we have the sickness to kind of cleanse and purify our body, so that way we can get over it, and on the other end of it can function more healthily, can be more efficient, more embodied, more present, enjoy our lives more, enjoy the health of our bodies, enjoy all of the things that our physical forms let us do on this planet and in this experience. Now, all this to be said, sometimes there's cold and flu season. And it's important to remember that in cold and flu season, you don't need to be all up in each other's business, right? Sometimes we need some distance and space to have illness. And then there are other times when it's like, if you're in a family, sometimes processing, it's not realistic to be separate from other people while they process illness, while they process the expulsion of bacteria and viruses, or also misheld beliefs. There's also something to be said about fevers and like raising the temperature of our bodies, and how our immune systems are fighting off. Like there's this like internal battle. A season of illness now, y'all. A season of illness. It's very topsy-turvy, very like you just got caught in an avalanche and your inner ear is kind of spinning and you're like, I don't know which way is up and which way is down. I feel like that's a little bit where we're at this week, you know? So the reminder that this too shall pass. A gratitude for presence, and a reminder to fill your body with all the nourishing things that it needs. Okay. All right, y'all. So we are going to have five readings this week. Five messages to choose from. 5 little whack-a-moles. And the goal here is that the whack-a-mole you pick is the one that gets the direct hit. No, that's not the goal. The goal is to exercise your intuition and internal guidance, and for me to deliver messages that are clear, relatively concise, and in support of our growth and evolution as a collective. So that's why we're here. We're gonna go red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Or maybe that's backwards. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. No emojis this week, just colors. So tune into red, orange, yellow, green, or blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I will see you in your group. Okay, group one. Group one, hello. Red group. Let's just tune in for just a moment. I'm hearing like the sound of water dripping in like a damp, cavernous space. It feels very much like a cave, or it looks more like an industrial basement, like very, not necessarily spooky, but you definitely want to be wearing waterproof shoes, and it feels echoey and cavernous, and it's like, I would probably want to have a flashlight in that space. Yeah, okay. It's the kind of space that there are only a few spaces that are intentionally like this. Sewers, water treatment plants, there are natural spaces like this, like caverns and caves, and that's what we're going to be honing into today. Because going along with the collective message that is about the well-being and health of our bodies, a lot of it is based on the direction that our mind goes with it, right? So we can look at this experience, which feels very much like the subconscious, with a lot of emotion being represented by water here. Slow dripping, meaning what? Yeah, we'll get into that. But this general feeling of like, I don't know, something's wrong, needing to fix, shift, or replace something here. Something needs tending to. It's not, the sense that I get here is that it's not fully in operational order, or if it is, there's a slow leak or a slow decompression. And so we're going to reframe that this week. So let's see the first image of it being like a stairwell with a cold metal railing, and just the drip, 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 very cavernous sound. It looks like the beginning of a horror movie, or it looks like the middle part of a horror movie, or it looks like the part of a horror movie where you don't want to be. You don't want to be. And I recognize that. You don't, it's a space, you're in a space and time that you don't really want to be in. And you're in a space and time that if you were in this space and time for an extended period of time, you would probably get sick. It's very bone chilling. There's not a lot of light. And so we're going to reframe and think about the caverns and the caves and the stalagmites and the stalactites. Stalagmites coming up from the earth and stalactites coming up from the ceiling, coming down from the ceiling. And it seems to be important here that the drips that are happening, it's not just water, right? It's not just emotion that you're processing right now. And I'm reminded of like the sewer scene and like concrete, sewer rats, yucky stuff. You really don't want to fall in. There's this fear of like, I don't want to fall in to the emotional tumult of this time. I don't want to fall in to what's being excavated or processed or moved along because it's waste. From the beginning, that stuff coming through the nose, just like all the there's a regurgitation or a processing or just like a shifting of a lot of stuff coming up. And so to reframe to the cave scenario, water, emotion, It's the water drops that are dripping. It's not just water. There's like mineral content. Minerals, I'm hearing, so correct me if I'm wrong. Minerals are insoluble. I mean, you can mix them up in water, but they do not. I heard they don't break down any further, and then I'm having some war in my mind about that, because minerals are not just single. Maybe they are. Are they single elements? Like calcium is a mineral, and I think on the elemental table there's just calcium like can't break down into like hydrogen and oxygen like water. Water can break down into hydrogen and oxygen if given the right circumstances and scene and setting. But minerals feel like they cannot be further reduced. And so this concept of, okay, if we've got limiting beliefs or any kind of beliefs, and they're carried by emotions, right? Our beliefs are carried by emotions. When something happens and we feel an emotional response, it's basically a way to transit or to move a belief, good or bad, from one space to another, inside to out, to share it with another, or to process it for another, or to just experience it, to run it through our system. And so if we're in a cave system and there's stalagmites and stalactites, water carries minerals. And the water, the cool thing about most of these cave systems is the water moves so slowly that the minerals have a chance to sit and settle out of the flow of water, which can't happen if the water is moving very quickly. I feel like there's an important part for this group to like experience your emotions very slowly, very gently, to try and find stillness when you're having an emotional response, because it feels like it's time for whatever belief systems, or whatever, I should say individual beliefs, because it might not be whole systems, beliefs to fall out of your emotional responses, right? So if you get triggered in a certain way, let's say I know I can be very defensive, and it's time for me to let go of being defensive in certain ways, in all the ways really, and to allow my body to process that. It's going to require me to, when I feel triggered, when I feel like I'm having an emotional response that's resulting in defensiveness rise up in me, to slow down and allow that emotion to be processed so much more slowly, so then the defensiveness, the mineral, can kind of be separated from the water. And I'm seeing like a row of stalagmites and stalactites. It builds geographical structure, right? Over eons of time. Stalagmites and stalactites, like you can't walk through them. They actually will eventually create a whole column. It'll create a bar, it'll create a structure. And these structures are important because it directs people how to walk through and around us. It directs energy on where to flow. It directs faster moving water and kind of shapes our inner landscapes. Okay, I think this is pretty much done. Is there anything else for this group? Yes. I'm hearing salt in the wound. And there's this time when we can like rub salt in the wound ourselves to try and experience the next display of emotional uprising. And that it, I'm hearing, is part of the scientific process. I recognize this. I feel like there are things that you're going through in your life that you're kind of like putting yourself in these situations. You're putting yourself in emotional experiences or circumstances. And I feel that you are doing this intentionally because it's like your body kind of wanting to move through it, your body wanting to understand more of what's going on. And my urge and caution to you is be careful not to do too much, because again, the theme of this week, or the theme of this read, is to take your time, to take it slow, and that these baby steps are really what is required to see measurable movement and progress in whatever situation that you're in right now. That you're not going to get there by running. It's very much a walking feet situation. And it's that kind of thing, like if a teacher ever saw you running in the hallway, sometimes they would make you go back and walk it. And this is one of those situations where if you get too spun up in emotion and you get too jazzed up about it, you're going to have to go back and do it again. And you're going to have to walk. Like, no matter what, to get from A to B in this situation, you're going to have to do it slow. There's just no way around it. Not this time. Okay, friends. Big love. Glad to have you here. Catch the collective message at the end. And yeah, if you'd like to work more together and get specific, tuned just to you guidance, that's what I'm here for. I'll be so glad to meet you. Okay, dears. Thank you. All right, group two. Group two. Oh my gosh, scurvy group. Okay, I'm seeing oranges, and scurvy is an illness that would happen on the high seas when people were not on land for a long time. So much water this week. Okay, not on land for a long time, and I can't remember exactly why. I'll have to probably look it up. But citrus would keep the scurvy at bay. It was really important to have citrus on the boat if you're going to be gone for a long time, because it helped people stay clean and clear and healthy in this way. I feel like you have been sailing on the same seas for a long ass time. I feel like your legs beneath you haven't felt solid land for a long ass time. I feel like your dreams, even, you find yourself rolling in your sleep and dreaming of like the concept of stillness feels so foreign to me right now. And then I'm seeing a hammock. Like, if you can imagine being on a ship and you're below deck and there's like this pitching that's happening, like rocking back and forth. And I'm seeing like the importance of a hammock to you right now. If you have a hammock down there, like, of course the swaying is still happening, but a hammock has the ability to respond to gravity. Like, gravity will always instruct a hammock of how to hang. So even if the ship is going back and forth, the hammock can kind of like stay steady. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you're on the ship and you're not in a hammock, you're like going back and forth. But if you're in a hammock, this can happen a little bit more. And they're still wiggling about. So this is just like, what's your hammock? What's the hammock for you right now? What is the experience that helps you find, like, remember your gravity, to remember your stillness? I recognize that even in this practice, and I'm seeing like meditation or yoga or it's funny because it's going to be particular kinds of movements. Running, right? Running is movement. Yoga is movement. Even meditation can be walking and moving meditation, Tai Chi, right? But allowing your body to shift and move in accordance with gravity, in accordance with your true centeredness. And it's funny how that movement is all relative. Like, if you think of your body doing Tai Chi and your body moving, yes, it's moving in relation to your environment, but in relation to the universe at large, to the wider energetic reality, your body really is not moving that much compared to that. Like, it's the hammock thing, right? Where the hammock is moving in relation to the boat, but in relation to gravity, the hammock is much more still. So just a reminder that context is everything, right? Your sanity does not depend on the people around you. Your sanity depends on the energetic process that's so much wider and larger than that. And it can be really difficult if you're in environments that make you seasick, whose motion pulls illness out of you. And this time back to the beginning of like, this feels like it's falling a little bit of like, not illness for productivity's sake, but illness in a more self-destructive and in a more, how do you say, autoimmune way. And then I'm seeing like the citrus again, and or like the happy pills, right? Or what kind of supplement do you need right now to remind yourself who you are, to remind your body of its health and its wellness when you walk into these places and experiences that are pitching and froing. I hear pitching a fit. It feels like a lot of toddler energy, a lot of emotional upheaval, a lot of just like little kids banging shit together, banging stuff together, you know? And it's just chaotic and loud, and I'm very much seeing like the teacher energy. It's funny, my mom was she taught 3 to 6. She taught preschool and kindergarten at a Montessori school, which is such a special place. But she was in this room with another teacher, thank goodness, with like 20 something 3 to 6 year olds for hours at a time. And there were moments, I remember she told me she just had to go to the closet, and her scurvy pills, her citrus, was like a Dove chocolate. And it was just this moment that centered her, that reminded her that she is an adult, that reminded her that she has autonomy and free will, that she has a lot more training than at being a human than all these tiny and often apt to be dysregulated people running around her. And so she'd take that moment, she'd go to the closet, and then she'd come out and she'd tackle whatever is next. Or I shouldn't say tackle, she would respond as opposed to react. And so the theme here is, what kind of centering, what kind of reattunement does one need to receive in their bodies to respond as opposed to react? And going back to the very beginning imagery of the stalagmites and the stalactites and the minerals and all that stuff, sometimes when it is illness in other, it is important for you to keep it flowing, to keep it going, and to not have the level of stillness that you would have with yourself. It's important that, I see. I almost was going to say it's important that you don't invite everyone into your hammock, but at the same time, inviting everyone into the hammock, as long as it can hold, it's going to make you, like, gravity is going to act more intensely on heavier weight, on more mass. Is that right? I don't know. This is making me question all sorts of physics things, but that's okay. My brain doesn't need to be there right now because we're channeling, we're connecting, we're in connection space. It's important though that the people that you invite into your personal space are not moving around and being chaotic, that they're able to meet you where you're at in your sanctity and in your peace. Otherwise, just let them play themselves out. You can hold the vibe, and if others choose to meet you where you're at, then that's great, but otherwise let rushing water pass. Let it, like, you don't have to make a blockade and make a dam and slow it down. You just let it run its course. And now I'm seeing like that same classroom of like 3, 4, 5, 6 year olds, like all running in a tornado, and then someone having to be like, stop, and like everyone sitting and falling down. I don't think that's where you're at. I recognize that it can feel chaotic. I recognize that you can see the opportunity you have to impart peace and stillness, but you're not a teacher in this way. That's not your path. It's more important that you take care of yourself in this transit, because it feels like it's transit for you. It feels like it's temporary. It feels like the chaos and whatever tumult, emotional tumult that you have been in lately is belongs on the ship, and a ship is always going to swing through the night. Like it's the way that it is, and it's the way that it's going to be. And your task is not about changing it, shifting it, or teaching. It is about maintaining your own integrity through the tumult. So find your peace, and pack accordingly. All right, dears. All right, group three, yellow group. I'm seeing like bolsters, yoga bolsters, or they're just like, it's like pillows, but more compact. And I'm seeing you set this if you've ever taken a yin yoga class or restorative yoga, where you are kind of settling into particular supported poses. I'm seeing this for you right now. And it's like yellow pillows, yellow bolsters around you. And it's just a season of being fully and completely supported. Allowing yourself to have complete support around you, to be held up in every way, really, and to really allow yourself to just decompose into the planet, to allow yourself to become undone, to let every muscle relax. And it just feels like, when you're clenching, and if you're clenching your fist and there are things in it, it's only when you relax that the things fall out. And it's so important, because I feel like you're carrying so much right now. There's a lot of weight on your body that doesn't need to be carried in your body. And you just need to relax. I also feel like you need a lot of repair. It almost feels like there's been damage done from muscles feeling so tight for so long that like they need massaging, or there's a shape that they've forgotten how to be in that's healthier for them, because they have been in this clenched shape for so long. So I do feel like there are people or situations, circumstances coming to you that are going to help massage these muscles open, to like lubricate the joints, to bring like not just salve but oil to just deeply nourish your physical form and your psychological and energetic form. So allowing yourself to receive that care and attention is going to take another kind of relaxing and willingness. But it's something that if you're able to stay with that challenge, like I get that it's like that is going to be the exercise in and of itself. Sometimes in a yin class, like staying with yourself to quiet the mind is the exercise. It is an exercise. It is a diligence that pushes us, yet ultimately rewards us with a deeper sense of peace and a deeper sense of knowingness. Just like if you go to the gym and you do a lot of exercises, it takes a lot of energy, but after that, after the recovery period, you have a deeper sense of capability and you can relax in a deeper way because you know your body has the ability to respond with more strength than you had before, with more capability than you had before, with more ability than you had before. So I want to frame this for you this way because I feel like relaxation is not, can be challenging sometimes. And I feel like this group can be like quite productivity minded, or to what means, or to what end minded, of like, well, what am I getting out of it? What is it? Well, what is it worth it to me? Like, why am I doing this? And I just need you to go with it. I need you to go with it and trust that it's for your good and it's for your benefit, and that it's all in right time. Okay. All right, one more. I'm seeing like someone come by with like grapes on a plate, like while you're in this relaxed pose, and it feels really important that you pass on this, that you pass on the food, that you pass on the offer. Not because it doesn't sound enticing or it's not something that you want, but just because it's so important for your body to focus on what's at hand, that that even digestion would be work that you don't need to do. Chewing takes more work than what you need to do. It's like ultimate release, because it feels like your body needs all the energy that it can get to process what is going to be released in that flow. And if there's any more information or processing that has to come in, it's just too much. Yeah. It's like fasting. And when you fast, I mean, do your research, but it allows your body to take a long enough break from processing food that it can then kind of like clean up the rest of the house, you know? It's like if you're home and bored from Thanksgiving break, or you have a lot of time off work and you're not traveling, you can start hearing like the clutter in the closets, and you start doing deeper cleaning than you would week to week to week, because you have more bandwidth and capacity. And it's really time to clear that stuff out in your physical form, in your mental form, in your energetic form. So allow yourself to have more rest these days, because it's very productive in its own right. And because it's also a different kind of work that you're doing when we're doing deeper cleaning. Like I'm seeing like hoarding situations. A lot of times when stuff has been sitting for so long, you have to come in hazmat suits, or you have to come in masks, even if it is like originally normal junk that has just accumulated over time, but because it's sat so long, because there's other stuff that's gotten into it, because it's kind of tangled up in a way, it takes a much more intensive cleaning. And for that kind of intensive cleaning, yes, it's very rewarding, and you really have got to take care of yourself in the process. So that's that bolstering, that support, right? And what can you say more yes to help yourself experience that kind of witnessing? Because realizing it's really just witnessing of self. And sometimes it's hard to sit and witness self. So like if you have a hard time sitting still, like what does it take to get you to sit still? Is it playing a game on your phone? Is it a certain treat or a snack? And I know we just talked about not eating, but what kind of support What kind of supports do you need to stay in the same place for a long time so the work can be done? Okay, my dears, many blessings. Let me know if you need additional support or specific information for you in particular on what's going on. It's been a thrill. Thank you so much. All right, group 4. Group 4, which is yellow. Or no, I'm sorry. Group 4 is green. Group 4 is green. All right, my dears. I'm seeing like a dumpling, the shape of a satchel, or like just this kind of like the quintessential red and white polka dot or like satchel on a stick shape. And I'm hearing, get your shit together. And I feel like you've got it. Like, I feel like you are in transit. Like, I feel like all this stuff is gotten together. And now it's just the departure point. Now I see like storks dropping off babies wrapped in this shape. And it's just like, you're in this moment of the redistribution process. Everything, it's like the holiday gift giving time where it's like, okay, all the presents are wrapped, everything has been acquired, everything has been wrapped. And it's so important that it's not just stuff has been acquired, but things are packaged, things are wrapped, things are put together. And that's brilliant for you. I love that. There's an encouragement here to like make sure you don't drop it off at the wrong address, like the storks with mixed up babies. It's like, make sure that the energetics that you're dropping off to people are the ones that are for them and not the ones that are for you or for someone else. I do see a lot of what I think you've packaged up is packaged up for use by you in the future, or as presents for you in the future. And then a deja vu moment here of like, we've been here, we've done this, but we know that we needed different supplies in different moments. And so it's like, okay, if you were going to do the trip again, if you're going to do the journey again, what would you pack differently this time? Would you pack soap instead of something else? Or would you pack it in addition to something else? What did you pack that you didn't need to pack? What did you pack that was already there? And for whatever situation that's coming up for you where you are considering your future self a lot, I urge you to remember how capable you are, and also how solidly the collective, or at least your environment, has come through for you. I think you're pretty well set in a lot of ways. It's just, yeah, for the stuff for other people, that's all pretty much ready to go. The stuff for yourself, I'm seeing some like, not go back to the drawing board, but like go check your list, or what do they say about Santa? He made a list and checks it twice. Make sure that you're checking your list twice. Make sure that you're checking your needs and making your adjustments, just being aware of them more than once before you. I feel like the discernment about how much energy you spend on yourself and how much energy you spend on other has been like a little bit off. I think you need to spend a little bit more energy on yourself and a little bit less on the other, because I think the stuff for other people is like ready and good to go. The last thing I see here is like a blue pleated ribbon. And it very much is like, it's like you're trying to get the blue ribbon at the fair. But it's like, what are these ribbons for? What are they really actually used for after you get them? Like, yes, it can be a lot to show for, but without context, it means nothing. And I have a feeling that the places that you're going, or where you, whatever is happening, like the context, you can't, it's too much to bring the context with you. So if you're really focused on being the best or getting first place or like going above and beyond, it's not helpful here. It's literally not going to matter where you're going, like at all. What matters more is the skill and experience that you're acquiring for yourself, not that anyone else says for you, but what you're learning to do on your own, and to really be present with that, because the one consistent thing for you between now and all the situations for the rest of your life is that you're bringing yourself along for it, right? That's what you really want to be feeding into. Everything else doesn't really matter, to be frank. It's about you, me, myself, and I. It's about you and yourself and how you show up into every situation. And your feeling well equipped is going to be less dependent upon the validation and the acceptance from others, and more upon your ability to withstand, and maintain integrity with yourself. I am so proud of this group, because it feels like this, I can see how long of a, like, it feels like you've come a long way. It's been a long way that you've been walking down this path, and I do feel like you're hitting a point where they've finally gotten their stride, where like you're hitting your stride, where you're not just hitting competency, but hitting confidence in your steps. And it's just really so thrilling to see people experience that moment, because it's like we can all see that you can do it, but when you see the moment that you can do it, that's when it really changes. That's what shifts your inner and therefore outer reality. And it's really like where the rubber meets the road. It's like, it's the tipping point, you know? And it's a very special place that you get to be in right now, because like, oh my gosh, the tipping point, like the tipping point is like the most fun part of, well, maybe not the most fun part of the teeter-totter. One would say like the highs are probably the fun part of the teeter-totter, but the tipping point is the change of motion. It's a turning of the tides. And yeah, if you feel tight or restricted, or like you've been going for a long time, I feel like you've been working tirelessly and diligently and haven't even really been getting real with yourself about how difficult it's been, or how fatigued you might be, or if hope has been decreasing in your heart. I just feel like you haven't even let yourself get to that place. And I'm here to celebrate with you and also hold some space for the emotion that comes up sometimes, like when you get that release, or when the tides do start to change, like there's an emotional release that happens because you finally can start loosening up and letting go to the stuff that you were just so tightly holding on to that you didn't even realize it. So I'm so proud of you for making it all this way. It's a very special place to be. There's more for this group. Let's hear it. Just one more moment. Yeah, dumplings, sushi. I also just feel like it's taken a lot of ingredients to create this experience. Like both dumplings, and I know that dumpling, we had the dumpling image from before, and then there's sushi, and they're very different because sushi's generally not cooked, and dumplings almost always are. And I feel like you're turning from dumpling making into sushi making. And let me explain this, because I feel like with dumplings, like you're working with the same, like a lot of ingredients, but now you're kind of on a roll, pun intended. You're kind of on a roll, and you don't need to hide the things as much. I feel like in dumplings, like you can't see the ingredients that are inside. You don't know what's inside of a dumpling by looking at the outside of it, unless you mark it in a certain way. Sushi, on the other hand, like, yes, when it's in a roll, you can't really see what's inside, but you can still see the ends. And when it's cut into individual pieces, as it traditionally is, you can see a cross section of everything that's inside. Nothing is hidden in sushi. And I feel, and you also, like, it's consumed fresh. There's not time taken to cook it or to break down any of the proteins or cell structures to make it more palatable or accessible. Like, the people who are wanting sushi come to it because it's so fresh, because it's raw, and because they like the ingredients that they can see right there or on it. I feel like this is kind of where you're shifting and transitioning, and it means that, like, and I get the tipping point now, because it's going to be a lot less work. It's going to be a lot less work to gather the same number or even potentially fewer ingredients, and to not have to process them as much, but to deliver them directly and have more of a what you see is what you get attitude and mindset. It's because a lot of the work is done for you on the front end. And when people, you're going to have to answer a lot fewer questions when you're selling dumplings. People are like, well, what's in it? And there's that dialogue, or like, people might not like what's in it, or they might be surprised or something. And that's just, it's not, you're very much more of a, like, don't want to have conversation around, and don't want to not just have shame, but process other people's feelings and emotions about their experience. With sushi, there's a lot, it's just not something that you do. You're not like, oh, take this back, it needs to be cooked more. With sushi, that's literally, it's not, it's kind of like, this is what you get. And as long as you're using good product, as long as you have excellent raw product, and that's also a point of integrity, I think, of where you're getting to, is there is a certain, and this is the flip side of it, of like, there's a certain exposure that you have when working with like a sushi base. Like, you have to use really high grade materials. You have to really have a pristine and a very clean and sanitary environment because of the nature of the food. It's not being cooked, it's being consumed raw. And I do feel like this lights you up and kind of elevates you into a realm that you were meant to exist in, and plants you in the correct garden, because I see you before trying to have this quote unquote insane or mismatched integrity about the condition of your ingredients when you were dumpling making. And all of your compatriots, all of your your contemporaries, the people who are also making dumplings, are like, what do you care what shape the carrots are in? What do you care if they're a couple of days old or something like this? What do you care if they're slightly wilting? Like, we're going to chop them up and they're going to be in a dumpling and they're going to get mushy and no one's going to tell the difference, or like, it's just less important. And so I felt like you were feeling wrong for wanting to do this, and it's not that you were wrong, you were just in a different environment. You're meant to be cooking something different, and so it'll be such a thrill for you to want to keep and maintain the integrity that you've been wanting to have in an environment where that integrity is called for, appreciated, and also kind of mandatory, which I get it. That does put a different sense of pressure on, but you were built for this. And you're made for this, and mistakes will probably be made, but guess what? Everybody's got to learn. Okay, group 4. I'm so glad. I'm so excited for you. Let me know what's happening and what's going on. And let me know if you need additional one-on-one support. My books are open as of this moment, and I'll see you soon. Okay, best of luck. All right, group 5. Okay. Blue group. Okay, again, I'm seeing a blue square, which has been coming through for blue group for a long time. So if you, are new to these reads, it might be worth it to click back and find the blue square emojis to see if any other messaging comes up for you. Use your intuition and guidance. I do feel like you've been building for a while. I do feel like this is like one brick and another brick and another brick and another brick. And it almost feels like the building blocks are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so it's like taking longer. I mean, the building blocks have been the same. I think you are getting bigger. And so the building blocks are feeling smaller to you. And the benefit of smaller seeming building blocks is like you can get a lot more intricacy and detail. But the drawback is that it's a lot more tedious and time consuming to be building with tiny pieces, when I think what you want to be doing is building with larger pieces. Now, I don't think that you are going to shift and change to larger building blocks now. I think you're going to want to find a happy medium of something in the middle, because if you go too big too fast, I'm feeling like your muscles are going to wear out. Like I feel like your muscles have not, have not acclimated, or like will have a hard time acclimating to bigger challenges. And it feels more important to scale up and grow in a more sustainable sense than with speed as a concern. Because even if speed is your primary concern of like, I want to be there quick, I want to be there now, I want to get ahead, like the fastest way for you to actually do that is to go at a slower pace, take it one step at a time. And it's like that saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You know, take a minute, save a mile. What's another one? I feel like there's another one. Slow and steady wins the race. That being said, whatever you're building, however this applies to you, I do feel like there is part of it that you are going to be apprenticing out for. I think you have learned a lot in these smaller building blocks. I think it's really important that you continue to familiarize yourself with their stance and structure. I'm going to bring this into the real world for a minute. If you're building a business and like you built it yourself, you've learned a lot with like the marketing techniques, and like you've done a lot of the grassroots part of building this business. And I want you to keep your eyes on that. Even if you're going to be outsourcing and hiring someone else to be taking over some of these aspects, still go to the webinars that teach about them. Still go to a conference and take your apprentice with you of like what you can learn, because it's a fool who forgets about where they came from and the smaller building blocks that got them there. And it is a really intelligent being who keeps that in mind, evolves to bigger problems and bigger building blocks, but chooses to synthesize and keep both in mind when doing so. So that way, as you're building with your larger building blocks, you can remember what's going on with the next level down, the next level. Like you'll have a better structure, you'll have more detail, it'll be so much more integritous and streamlined. And then it's also important because I feel like it is about leaving a path for those behind you, and leaving a path for those behind you, helping be part of the wave to carry you forward, to deliver you to where you're going. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. That's the kind of energetic and that's the kind of attitude that I think you need in this moment. It can be really tempting to just grow too big for your britches and never look back. But that's not what we're here to do. And now I'm hearing like karma points, right? Like, you never know when your karma points are going to cash in or how they're going to cash in, right? And not to say that you just need to do things for it to cash in karma points, right? That's not, that motivation undermines the whole thing of it, but it's about maintaining that heart smile and the goodwill towards other people that will feed you in ways down the road that you could never anticipate, and that will be such a boon and such encouragement for you, period. All right, my dears, I think that's it. Really excited. Keep me posted on what it's about. If you would like to. If you want additional one-on-one support, you know where to find me. And a reminder that not only do I do one-on-ones, but I do readings for couples, each individual, and then the relationship itself. And then entrepreneurs, of course, people who are shepherding brands and businesses, not only you and your business, but the relationship between you. And then lastly, pets and animals, past and present, and properties as well, for those of you who are engaged in supporting physical spaces and physical goods. Okay. Thank you, dears. Let's go ahead and get to a closing collective message. In love and light, I thank our masters, teachers, and loved ones for their information and guidance. Amen. 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 The records are closed. All right, my dears, the last thing I see is like, these things got really popular, I feel like 10 or like in the 2010, 2015s, I don't know. It's like a starburst. Like if you can imagine just like rods of metal that all meet in one place. You know how those got, I don't know, I feel like it's wall decor, they got pretty popular. But I see like all these rods kind of like coming together and meeting in the middle. And it's like, even when there's a meeting of like minds, like things that all look alike, there's still a lot of space in between. Like if you're welding that wall art or that piece together, you're going to need additional material in the form of solder or I don't know, like molten level metal to join all those pieces together. Even when like minds come together, there's still gaps and spaces in between where we can be invited to become more fluid and less structured, more curious, and to kind of meld and blend ourselves. A reminder that it's so important to, yes, maintain our integrity in who we are, but to maintain some flexibility and malleability if we are interested in creating something greater than ourselves. All right, y'all. I think that stands for where it is today. Thank you so much. Come back every Wednesday. And yeah, if you need additional support, you can find me at soulshiftchanneling.com and on all the social medias. So I'll see you soon. Many thanks and good luck.